Thank you so very much. It looks like I have to say something about myself because the 30 minutes wasn't enough, obviously. Well, I'm a tutor in sports sociology. My background is that I'm involved in what is called an emerging field called sport for social change. So what I'll be talking to you today is the whole idea that a coach is not just for sport. A coach can do other things. So I'll be really looking at how does a sports coach sort of like include other goals apart from just winning and developing the athlete. Is it possible that a coach can actually, as it were, is it possible that a coach can actually develop the complete human being? And I'll be using the project that I've been involved with in Zambia, my country of origin, Southern Africa. It's a project that I started back in the 90s, in 1990, and the work there is such that we've now created one of the largest sport for social change charities. So I'll be using some ideas from that to just highlight what a social coach does. So I've talked about that very quickly already. I hope that by the end of this presentation I will convince you that actually coaches are key in social transformation. That a coach like Jose Mourinho, all these phenomenal coaches that we know, they actually can influence behavior. They actually can influence social change at a certain level. My question is, how do they do that? How do they engage in a process that leads to sort of like behavior change? And again, my experiences from Zambia will be very important to support me in that. So a social coach is a mentor, not just for the sports goals, but is a mentor for life. A social coach is a facilitator for social change, and like I said, the social coach is that one of the key ingredients in the positive change that we look for in society. Two key points here are that sport can be a tool for community transformation, and also the person is more important than the athlete. In other words, when we're trying to help the athlete, we have to think of the whole person, and that's crucial. And it's a very simple statement to make, but when you start hearing these stories about failed athletes, after the sports career, what happens to them? We tend to blame them, as if they were sufficiently prepared for that intensive 10 years of their life where they are on TV, they are doing all these things, and they don't know how to manage their finances. When that happens, then we tend to blame them and not society. But sometimes it's a bit of both. So as I said, EduSport is the organization that I've been involved with, and we drive our work using social coaches. These social coaches are unique. They're not adults, they're young people. So we identify young people in Zambia, in poor communities, to reach out to other young people. And what happens sometimes is that these young people, some of them are phenomenally talented. And what has happened over the years using football, we've contributed to some interesting statistics. Africa, the negative story. Well, I want to tell you the other side of Africa, the story you don't hear on CNN and BBC. The other side of Africa is that it is actually a beautiful place. And Zambia is found in the southern part of Africa. It has got 8 neighbors there. We're a little small country of about 12 million people, never had any war. So it's not what you hear about in West Africa. Africa is so diverse. And I think it's important to highlight that. We've got the Vic Falls, we've got massive tourist attraction. Zambia is 40% urbanized. And we have a lot of mining and other resources going on. This project, EduSport, that I've been involved with, where we use social coaches, is designed in such a way that every program reflects a problem. HIV/AIDS problematic in Africa, Southern Africa, in the 90s, Zambia had 20% of young people between the age of 15 and 24 HIV infected. As we speak now, we are down to 11%. Very, very big progress, and credit goes to all the stakeholders that have been doing that. When I went to school, education was free all the way to university. This time, you have to pay. when you go to first grade. A lot of young people are left on the sideline because of that. So we have created a program that allows our young people to do work in the community, and for the work they do in the community, we pay for their school fees. One of the things we say is do something, we do something. We do nothing, we do nothing. And many of these young people have turned up, and you're going to meet a few of them through some images here. When we went out in these communities to do sport, we discovered these young people were talented, so we decided to create some academies. We've got an interesting girls empowerment program called Go Sisters, and Go Sisters is about empowering underprivileged girls through sport. It's probably now one of the biggest girls programs for sport in Africa, funded by the British government now. So that program is really interesting. That is for HIV positive people involvement in sport. That is for economic empowerment. And that is international outreach. Here in the UK, we have an organization called Friend of EduSport that supports the work in EduSport. So all these programs seem to reflect the diversity of the problem that we have. I hope this little YouTube video is going to help me explain what we try to do in Zambia. Kieran, do you have an idea what's going on here?
Is it working earlier or not?
Yeah, it was. Actually, I'll try and see if I can. Okay, I hope that gives you an idea of the kind of work that I'm trying to use as a case study. What we've done in EduSport over the years, from 1999 when EduSport Foundation was set up, these are some of the remarkable things we've managed to do. Currently, we are in 6 of the 9 provinces in Zambia. For all the achievements that has been made around HIV/AIDS and youth and girl empowerment, sport has played a role in that. It's difficult to measure, but there has been great work which has been done. In terms of sports development, this bit here, in terms of sports development, EduSport currently contributes over 40% of the men and women national team in football. Our women national team coach is a former social coach, and we're very proud of her. We've got 150 young youth social coaches across the country, and we are reaching out to about 3,000 young people. This could not have been achieved without the social coach. And that's the argument I want to build here. These fundamentals here are quite important. Change takes time. To change people, I mean, I'm happy there are parents here. You know, somehow at university we want to take the development process into the lab and see if we can manipulate a few variables and voila, we have a perfect, well-balanced human being. It doesn't work like that. The truth is that it takes time. You need to support these young people, you need to understand their background, and that is a bit of work. We need to make a reflective journey. We need to learn continuously. Everything we know in terms of evidence and theory, we bring it into the picture of supporting these young people. Every young person who plays football in Zambia that I've met, they believe they can all play for Manchester United. That's good, but that's very dangerous if there's only one Manchester United. Because what they do is when they start on that journey to get Manchester United, everything else is not important. It's just football. So after so many years in football, when they get to the age 18, when they are told you are not good enough, they have got 0 skills. They are not good for anything. And at that point, it's important to manage the dreams. But as you manage those dreams, you cannot kill those elements there. Because that's what makes them human. You can't kill the dream. You need to manage the dream. I always say it's the people and not the sport that makes a difference. Mentorship and role models are crucial, and partnership. How do you work with parents? How do you work with the schools? How do you work with the churches in that local community to give support to these programs? This looks like a very holistic approach, but for me, that's what life is about. It takes time to develop anything. So what I want to do is, using some images here and using some stories, I want to bring alive some of these principles in what we've been doing. So this image here is what I call the learning journey. And I want to start here. You saw some clips around kids playing football. Well, most of the kids that we have in EduSport started with that football. It's a plastic football. They make it themselves and they play the football. They pick the trash around and they put it in a plastic, tie around, they play the football. In 2001, we started working with a group of youngsters. It's them there. Today, this guy here, his name is Roger, he's a top striker for Zambia. He's our Wayne Rooney. This young guy here plays in Israel. He plays in Israel too. Justin is a top midfielder and he's just qualified for the Zambia Olympic team. Fuayo Tembo, probably the most talented boy here, played Champions League this year for FC Basel in Switzerland. Lyson graduated at Loughborough University with a degree in sports science. He's back in Zambia. He's a football coordinator at our newly established Olympic Center. This guy here, he was the youngest in that group. He's in the under-20 national team for Zambia. These guys went to Sweden and won the Youth Cup for the Gothia. Now, that's an amazing story, I think, and we're going to be seeing what happens, but you have to remember that I picked out a few. Your question should be, what happened to the other ones? Because I think that's where we need to address the question of social coaching. Because not all of them will play Champions League. Not all of them are good at school. But they are still human beings, and that's what we miss. They're not as interesting, but they are human beings. So that's the Zambia national team is called the Chiporoporo Boys, meaning the Bullets. They are called the Bullets because we produce a lot of copper. So our national team is called the Bullets. We're not very bad national team. You know, we always get to the African nations quarterfinals and sometimes the semi-finals, and that's all. But that, you know, we try our best. In 1993, we lost the whole national team in a plane crash disaster. We managed to rebuild the team in 6 months. We built another team in 6 months, qualified for the Nations Cup, and reached the final and lost to Nigeria within 6 months. So it tells you something about the kind of talent that we have and the challenge that we face. Anyway, that's the national team, the current national team now, and these boys are from Sport that we've been working with. When they come to Zambia from their professional careers in Europe, they play on a day like this. The next day, they phone us up and say, do you have something you're doing in the community? I want to spend 30 minutes with the team. It's something we've planted in them. And I believe that it takes time to get them to a place where they identify with their community. There's a story about this young guy here. Majay was a talented midfielder. Unfortunately, suddenly he just died. 2 days after practice, we lost him. The boys in Israel phoned me up and told me, have you heard what happened in Zambia? I said, no. Oh, Majay just died. What are we going to do? I was humbled by that because they were telling me he left a child behind, he left a wife, what are we going to do? They started fundraising for that, for the widow, and as I speak now, she set up her own business, and we are saving money for the child. This kind of holistic human development is what a social coach is involved with. In 2007, I was in Vancouver, Canada, with the Zambia Under-20 national team, and that is them there. Again, 4 players from Sport. We reached the pre-quarterfinals. We were supposed to beat Uruguay by 2-0 to qualify the pre-quarterfinals. And the night before that key match, Uruguay was a better team than us. We had just lost a match against Spain, 1-0. Spain had 5 boys in the La Liga. And they were really giving up because we needed to beat Uruguay by 2-0. And I was speaking to him the night before, and he said, I'm the top striker, and I can't do this. Everybody's telling me we need 2-0. How do we do this? How do I do this? And I told him, I don't know. But I know you. I know where you've come from. I know what you're made of. That's all I can tell you. The next day, he scored a goal. We beat Uruguay exactly 2-0 and qualified. They make up the national team for Zambia now. And he played against Spurs. He's now playing in young boys in Switzerland. One thing about social coaches is they are not outside the change process. They follow the Gandhi philosophy. Be the change you want to see in the world. They don't expect other people to change, they start changing themselves. That way the change process is easy. He failed his GCSEs many times. We kept supporting him, and now he's got his English, he's got his maths, but he tells a story about how he has struggled in his education, and that is inspiration. So the inspiration story is not just about the outcome, but it's about the process as well. He's the head coach for the academy. On this day, he's reminding the boys that he needs to see the school reports. But they have a match, a crucial match the next day. So it's about embedding those signals about what's important in life into the whole, the holistic picture. Going back 2008, after Canada, our academy was the only, so far up to date, we're the only football club in Zambia which has sent players for trials at Real Madrid. Roger, who's our top striker, Fuayo, who plays in Switzerland, these boys had an extended trial at Real Madrid, and we had letters from Real Madrid saying they wanted to observe them. Please tell us where they're going from here. We haven't had anything from Jose Mourinho yet, but we're still hopeful. What I want to say is that this is the ground where they come from. And when they go back to Zambia, they're not ashamed about this community. There's something about raising a social coach and identity and being proud of where you come from, which I think is crucial in doing that. So that's Fuayo Tembo playing Champions League this year. And as you know, Basel reached the Champions League proper, the knockout stage. And in one of the games, he was man of the match. This image is very interesting for me. These are girl football players in a poor community warming up. I always say to myself, this young boy here will never be like me. I grew up believing that girls should be in the kitchen. I grew up believing that girls can't do things outside the home. For this young fellow here, he has to deal with the fact that these are not just, girls or sex objects. These are football players, football coaches, and that is how I believe that community is getting transformed. But how is that happening? This girl here, her name is Annie. Annie is currently finishing her degree at Loughborough University. She came from that community. And over the years, she's managed to get sponsorship to go to Loughborough, and she's been inspiring this Go Sisters program, which has got over, I think, 60 girls across the country helping other young girls. Annie was Lyson's mentor. Lyson, another fascinating story. Lyson Zulu is an orphan. And I remember one time I was working in the Zambian community, and he came to me and said, I want to study sport like you. And I said, nope, you can't do that. He said, why? Well, you won't be anything. In Zambia, you must be a doctor or you must be a teacher. These traditional disciplines, you don't do sport here. I said, no, but I want to do sport like you. And I was like, no, this is not going to be good. We'll get you some good education, but it won't be sport because nobody's going to employ you in Zambia. He says, I will do sport whether you like it or not. He worked in his community after his high school. He had very good grades at high school, very good footballer. Somehow, by his faith, we managed to get him a football scholarship at Bath. He went to Bath. From Bath, finished his foundation degree, went to Loughborough University, graduated there. One day, 2 years ago, I received a phone call from the General Secretary of the Football Association in Zambia, and they were telling me, Oscar, as you know, Zambia is playing Ghana for a friendly in London. We have a situation. I said, what's the situation? We couldn't get visas for our players, so only 9 players are arriving in London. People have paid for the tickets. Can you do something? And I was like, what do you expect me to do? Oh, you have some players for age sport in England, so please, gather them and get them to London to play for the country. It was an impossible task, but I picked up the phone and I said, Lyson, do you want to play for the national team? And Lyson, I don't know where he was, probably he was walking, he said, you're kidding me. I said, yeah, do you want to play for the national team? He said, when? When I finished? And I said, now. Do you want to play for the national team? I said, yeah. Get on the train now. You're playing against Ghana tomorrow. The poor guy was on the train. He was on to London. And then in London, he did the first training with the Zambia national team. What was humbling for me was that on that pitch, he said hi to one of his lifetime role models, that's Michael Essien. During our fundraising for Lyson to finish his university education, Michael Essien contributed £1,000. And at that time, Lyson went to Michael Essien before the start of after the match and shook his hand and said, thank you. And what Michael Essien said was, who told you? Because when I gave you that money, I said I never wanted to be named. I was really humbled about that. He helped him, but he didn't want people to know that he had helped him. And maybe that's what Lyson does in his community. He goes to help people, not because they owe him something, but because it's for his own improvement. And for me, that says a lot about social coaching. That's me. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions?
Excellent. Thank you very much, Oscar. The floor is open. Anybody like to ask Oscar any questions?
You see, obviously, the social coach, one of the players, you said that played for Zambia, the team. Were any of them like, you said there were social coaches?
They are
coaching the community, were they coaching just football or different sports as well?
Well, good question, but It's mostly just football. We're trying to expand to other sports, but mostly it's just football for now. We have a bit of basketball, a bit of volleyball here and there, but it's mostly football.
What was the name of the guy that played for Bar again?
But FC Basel?
Yep, FC
That's
Bar.
Fwayo Tembo.
Oscar, I've got a question for you. Is there a girls' team in Zambia? Is there a national girls' team in football?
Yes.
Yeah,
we're not that good, like I said.
It's all right.
Yeah.
And how long have they been established?
They've been established since, I think, 1998, I believe.
So you're saying during your childhood, and I'm not asking for your age here, but during your childhood, something like that would have been absolutely unheard of, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
So
yeah.
And do they play at the national level? So
they play at national level, and we have community teams emerging.
Yeah.
When the program started, our team was very established. The girls' team was established, I think, quite firmly in 2002. And at that time, 50% of the players were coming from major sport. And again, there were social coaches involved in the community.
Excellent. We've got another question.
You know that you had a really good concept with obviously like they do voluntary work in the community and then they got their education paid for. Do you think that could work over here, like have like our tuition fee like partly like paid for? Do you reckon that could be a good concept over here?
It can work here. This model works in America quite well, especially I know in basketball it works very well there. Mm-hmm. The French model is that by law, a player that goes into an academy system must go into an education system. Okay. So I think England can do more than just paying the fees. I'm trying to say England can actually require that our academy players get some skills. I'm not saying they should go to university. I'm saying we should have an education system that allows them to develop other skills. So if football doesn't work, they can, have a plan B, as we call it.
Sorry to hold on the question. I got one more. I was going to ask you. You said that obviously Lass and a lot of the players, no matter how far they went, they still adopted the social culture rules. Do you think that a lot of players like in this country don't really adopt it that well, and they just once they've gone, and don't really go back to their community?
It's difficult to say. I think there's something going on in this country about giving back to your community. Yeah. What I don't like is the capitalistic attachment to it. So you get Nike doing something and then they bring. So sometimes you don't see the person express themselves in that. But I believe the model is still here. I mean, you get players coming from certain communities, going back to those communities and doing something. And it's the same model.
Yeah, it's a good concept as well.